Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Titan English. I'm James, and today's story is called Younger. Thank you for joining me for another English story lesson. Before we begin, find a quiet place if you can. Put on your headphones, relax your mind, and listen carefully. This story is written in simple, natural English, so you can enjoy the story and improve your listening at the same time. If you enjoy learning English through stories, please like this video, share it with a friend, and subscribe to Titan English for more story lessons. All right, are you ready? Let's begin. Rita Morgan was going to turn 40 in 1 week. To many people, 40 was just a number, but to Rita, it felt like a door closing. Every morning, she looked in the mirror and saw something she did not want to see. She saw gray hairs near her ears. She saw small lines around her eyes and mouth. When she touched her face, her skin did not feel as smooth as before. Rita worked in a clothes shop in the center of town. Every day, young women came into the shop, laughing, trying on dresses, and taking photos of themselves. They looked fresh and full of life, and Rita felt older each time she saw them. Her friends told her she still looked good. They said she was kind, smart, and elegant. But Rita did not want to hear those words. She wanted to look young again. At night, she searched online for creams, drinks, vitamins, and special treatments. She bought expensive face masks and tiny bottles of oil. Some of them helped a little, but only for a day or two. Then, one evening, Rita saw a strange message on a local website. It said there was an old woman at the end of Willow Street who could make a cream that stopped aging. Some people said the cream could even make a person look younger. Rita read the message again and again. It sounded foolish, but she could not stop thinking about it. The next day, after work, she walked to Willow Street. The street was narrow and quiet. The houses were old and many windows were dark. At the very end of the street, Rita found a small house with a black door and no name on it. She almost turned back. Then she thought about her birthday, the mirror, and the young women in the shop. She knocked on the door. An old woman opened it. Her face was full of deep lines, but her eyes were bright and cold. She looked at Rita as if she had been waiting for her. "You came for the cream," the old woman said. Rita felt a little afraid, but she nodded. The old woman smiled and invited her inside. The house smelled of dried flowers, smoke, and something sweet that Rita could not name. There were small bottles on every shelf. Some were clear, some were dark, and some seemed to shine in the low light. The old woman took a small glass jar from a wooden box. The cream inside was pale and soft, almost like moonlight. "Use this every night," she said. "It will make you feel young again." Rita reached for the jar, but the old woman held it back. "There is one rule," she said. "Never stop using it." Rita gave a nervous laugh. "Is that all?" she asked. The old woman did not laugh. "That is enough," she said. Rita paid for the jar and left quickly. On the way home, she told herself not to be silly. It was only a cream, and the old woman was only a strange seller. That night, Rita washed her face and opened the jar. The cream was cool under her fingers. It smelled like roses after rain. She put a little on her cheeks, her forehead, and around her eyes. For a moment, her skin tingled. Then she went to bed, feeling foolish but hopeful. The next morning, Rita woke up before her alarm. She ran to the mirror and stopped breathing. The lines around her eyes were almost gone. Her skin looked smooth and bright. Her face looked softer, fresher, and younger. Rita touched her cheeks and began to cry with happiness. At work that day, 3 people noticed the change. "Rita, you look wonderful," one woman said. "Did you go on holiday?" Another customer asked, "What is your beauty secret?" Rita only smiled. She did not tell anyone about the old woman or the cream. Inside, she felt proud and excited. Every night, she used the cream. Every morning, she looked younger. After 2 weeks, Rita looked almost 25 again. She bought new clothes. She changed her hair. She walked through town with her head high, enjoying the way people looked at her. For a while, Rita was happier than she had been in years. She smiled at strangers. She went out with old friends. She even forgot to worry about her 40th birthday. But then, strange things began to happen. At night, after she used the cream, her skin burned for a few seconds. It was not a strong pain at first, but it was enough to make her afraid. One morning, she woke up and found 2 small scratches on her cheek. They were thin and red, like marks from sharp nails. Rita did not remember hurting herself. Another night, she was brushing her hair when she saw a shadow move across the mirror. She turned around quickly, but there was nobody in the room. When she looked back at the mirror, her own face seemed to smile a little too late. Rita tried to tell herself she was tired. She tried to tell herself mirrors sometimes played tricks with light. But deep inside, she knew something was wrong. 3 days later, she returned to Willow Street. The black door opened before she knocked. The old woman stood there, smiling softly. "Something is wrong," Rita said. "The cream is changing me. I see things in the mirror, and I wake up with marks on my face." The old woman looked at her with cold eyes. "You wanted youth," she said. "Youth is never free." Rita felt her stomach turn. "What does it take?" she asked. The old woman leaned close and whispered, "Take your time." Rita did not understand. Take my time? What does that mean? But the old woman only smiled and closed the door. That night, Rita sat in front of her mirror for a long time. She still looked young, but her eyes were darker now. Her smile looked beautiful, but it did not feel like her smile. She opened the jar and held it in her hands. She wanted to stop using the cream, but she remembered the warning, never stop using it. At last, with shaking fingers, she put the cream on her face. The burning was worse that night. Rita held the edge of the sink and closed her eyes until the pain passed. When she opened her eyes, the woman in the mirror looked young, perfect, and empty. Days passed, and Rita's body began to change in a new way. Her face stayed young, but the rest of her felt weak. Her back hurt, her hands shook, and she needed more sleep every day. At work, she moved slowly between the shelves. Customers still said she looked beautiful, but her friends asked, "Are you sick?" Rita laughed and said, "I am fine." She was not fine. She was tired all the time. Sometimes when she walked upstairs, her legs felt like they belonged to an old person. At night, the mirror became worse. Rita heard soft whispers when the room was quiet. Sometimes the whispers sounded like her own voice, but older. "Give it back," the voice seemed to say. "Give back the time." Rita covered the mirror with a towel, but the whispers did not stop. She put more cream on her face, hoping it would make everything normal again. Instead, she only felt weaker. One evening, Rita came home from work with shaking hands. She took the jar from the bathroom shelf, but her fingers slipped. The jar fell to the floor and broke. The pale cream spilled across the tiles. Rita screamed and dropped to her knees. She tried to push the cream back into the broken glass, but it was mixed with dust and tiny pieces of glass. "No, no, no," she cried. She searched the bathroom floor with her hands until her fingers bled. But the cream was gone. Rita thought about running back to Willow Street, but it was already late. Rain hit the windows, and the town outside was dark. She told herself she would go in the morning. That night, for the first time in weeks, Rita went to bed without the cream. She lay awake, listening to the rain. Every sound in the flat seemed too loud. At midnight, she woke up with a terrible pain in her face. It felt as if her skin was being pulled tight, then folded, then pulled again. She stumbled out of bed and ran to the mirror. At first, she saw the young face she loved. Then the face began to change. Lines appeared around the eyes, then across the forehead, then around the mouth. Her dark hair turned gray, then white. Her cheeks sank in. Her hands became thin and dry before her eyes. Rita screamed, but the sound was weak. She touched her face and felt deep wrinkles. Her body grew smaller, weaker, and older, as if many years were arriving at once. She looked into the mirror and saw an old woman. The face was not only old, it was tired, hollow, and frightened. Then she understood the old woman's words. Take your time. The cream had not made new youth for her. It had taken time from her own life and placed it on her face. Rita tried to leave the bathroom, but her legs shook badly. She reached for the door, but her hand passed in front of the mirror, and the mirror turned dark. In the darkness of the glass, Rita saw another room. She saw Willow Street. She saw shelves full of small jars. And then she saw the old woman. The old woman was standing in front of a mirror too, but now she looked younger than before. Rita understood the final truth. The cream did not only steal time, it moved time from one person to another. The old woman had not sold Rita a beauty cream. She had sold her a trap. Rita tried to scream again, but no sound came out. In the mirror, the old woman smiled with Rita's young face. The next morning, Rita's neighbors noticed that her front door was open. One of them called her name, but there was no answer. Inside the flat, everything was quiet. In the bathroom, they found a broken jar, a wet towel, and a mirror cracked from side to side. On the kitchen table, they found an old photo of Rita smiling when she was young. But Rita herself was gone. A few days later, a new shop opened at the end of Willow Street. The sign on the door said, Beauty and Time. An elegant woman stood inside, arranging small jars on a shelf. She looked about 40 years old, maybe younger. Her skin was smooth, her hair was dark, and her smile was calm. But if you looked closely, you could see something strange in her eyes. They were tired eyes, old eyes, eyes that seemed to remember another life. And sometimes, when a woman walked past the shop and touched the lines on her face, the elegant woman smiled. Then she opened the door and said, Come in, my dear. I have something that can make you feel younger. Now, before we finish, let's learn a few useful English phrases from the story. These phrases are simple, natural, and helpful for everyday English. The first phrase is about to. It means something will happen very soon. For example, Rita was about to leave the house when she saw the strange message online. You can remember it as the moment just before an action. The second phrase is no matter what. It means something will happen or be true in any situation. For example, Rita wanted to look young again, no matter what it cost. This phrase is useful when a person is very determined. The third phrase is deep inside. It means in your true feelings, even if you do not say them. For example, deep inside, Rita knew something was wrong. This phrase helps you talk about secret feelings or thoughts. The fourth phrase is play tricks. It means to make someone see or believe something that may not be real. For example, Rita told herself the mirror was playing tricks with light. We often use this phrase when something seems strange or confusing. The fifth phrase is at once. It means immediately or at the same time. For example, many years seem to arrive on Rita's face at once. This phrase is short, common, and very useful in stories. And that is the end of today's story, Younger. Sometimes people want to change the outside because they are afraid of what time is doing inside. But time is not only something that takes from us. It also gives us memories, wisdom, kindness, and the chance to become more fully ourselves. Thank you for listening to Titan English. I'm James, and I'm happy you practiced English with me today. Keep listening, keep learning, and keep going. I'll see you in the next story.
Bài học đến đây đã kết thúc rồi. Đừng quên luyện tập bài học hàng ngày để kỹ năng tiếng Anh của bạn ngày một tiến bộ nhé. Chúng tôi hy vọng bạn thấy bài học hữu ích. Chúc các bạn học vui và một ngày tốt lành.